Hello everyone, today I'm back with the M708 pen tablet from Ugee. I have been using it on both Windows and macOS platforms to get a good feel of the product. Before I continue, this was sent to me by GearBest for reviewing, but don't worry, along with all the pros, I'll also be talking about the cons. I did mention in my unboxing video how I felt this could be a cheap alternative to Wacom's Intuos pen tablets. The cheapest Intuos is the Intuos Draw Small at approximately £60 in the UK. It has an active area of 6 by 3.7 inches and comes with 4 express keys. In comparison, Ugee's M708 has a 10 by 6 inch active area. Having a larger active area means there's more space to move the drawing hand around, allowing smooth and natural strokes. Larger active area is also more preferable for large screen resolutions. It's just that bit more comfortable to draw with. The M708 provides 8 express keys, twice as much as Wacom's Intuos Draw, allowing more shortcuts available at your fingertips to allow faster workflow. Intuos Draw has 2 express keys to the left and 2 to the right. This means the non-drawing hand has to cross over in order to access 2 of the express keys, whereas M708 has them conveniently all to one side. The tablet can be rotated by 180 degrees, so the express keys are flipped to the right hand side for those who are left-handed. M708 also comes with a handy pen and nib holder. Both Intuos Draw and M708 have 2048 pressure levels and both can connect using one USB cable. An advantage Wacom's Intuos Draw has over Ugee's M708 is that it can connect wirelessly. However, the wireless kit itself has to be purchased separately at an additional cost of £40 in the UK. In all honesty, I didn't find having a cable attached a problem. The cable is 1.3 meters long, which is good if you have the computer positioned at a distance, but with my laptop I just kept the extra cable tied up with the plastic tie it had come with. Another downfall is that the M708 needs one AAA battery in the pen. It's hard to say how long the battery will last because it entirely depends on how powerful the battery you inserted is. They mostly vary between 700 mAh to 1100 mAh. I also noticed the surface of M708's active area didn't get any scratches from using the pen. I remember my Wacom Bamboo tablet got a lot of scratches and the nibs on the pen wore out really quickly. However, the pen to M708 hasn't worn down at all after 3 complete artworks. Weight-wise, the M708 isn't heavy in comparison to the size it is, making it easy for carrying around. The light indicator in the middle of the express keys was a major annoyance. It flashes the whole time I use the tablet, and even though I have my eyes fixated on the screen as I draw, I could see the bright blue flashing lights in the corner of my eye. Once I'm done with this review, I am so going to cover it with black insulating tape. Ugee's M708 is approximately £36 over at GearBest. For the price and specification of the M708, it is definitely a worthy investment for an artist or beginner on a budget. It performed well on both Mac and Windows, however there are some differences between the two platforms. So in order to cover this review accurately, I'm first going to talk about Mac and then move on to Windows. I will leave a timestamp in the description box and also on screen if you wish to jump to where I review the M708 on Windows. Starting with Mac. Downloading and installing the driver was easy. The driver doesn't conflict with any other existing drivers on the Mac. I had Wacom drivers installed and there were no problems installing the Ugee driver on top of that. The tablet settings UI is found as an application in the applications menu. Adjusting the settings is also very easy and pretty self-explanatory. I'll link the macOS setup video in the description box also. The Express Settings tab allows a large range of shortcut possibilities. However, I found myself needing to rotate a lot in Photoshop, but there was no option to have rotate as an express key, so I had to reach over to my keyboard for rotation. It's a shame because the Windows version of the driver allows for rotation and a whole lot more. The response after pressing an express key is fast. There is no delay in the function happening. What I mean by that is that when an express key like the undo button is pressed, it immediately translates on the art program and does undo without any lag. The M708 in general has no lag issues. Strokes produced are beautiful and flow of ink feels nice, smooth and natural. I was using Photoshop for my Mac drawing test, and even though it was a program I would not normally draw in, I definitely enjoyed using the M708 to draw with. I came across zero problems. The colouring was not my best, mainly because I'm still working on learning how to draw in Photoshop. I did a jitter test with pressure levels off to try and get the most accurate results. There is of course some jitter, even Wacom tablets produce a tiny amount of jitter. I would say there is ever so slightly more jitter than my Wacom Mobile Studio Pro when drawing a straight line slowly in Photoshop. When drawing straight lines at fast speed however, there isn't any noticeable jitter at all. But when I tested out in Clip Studio Paint, I noticed I got less jitter than my Wacom Mobile Studio Pro. So jitter will generally vary between program to program. There are no additional steps when connecting and unplugging the M708 in my MacBook Pro. I was able to simply plug in any time I wanted to use it and it would work straight away. I was also able to leave it plugged in and then come back to wake my MacBook Pro up from sleep and use the M708 straight away. I have heard of other tablets which sometimes need unplugging and replugging, so I'm glad I had no issues with this. Let's talk about how it performs on Windows. I found that the Windows driver refused to install unless I removed all existing pen tablet drivers off my Windows device. I had to uninstall my Wacom drivers and restart Windows before installing. This won't be a problem for many, as a dedicated M708 user probably won't be using another pen tablet alongside with the M708. However, what if you wanted to use Wacom's Express Key remote, or maybe the cheaper alternative, the AC19 remote by XP Pen? I tried to reinstall the Wacom drivers after Ugee's driver had installed. It simply made the Ugee's driver disappear, which was very strange. I also tried installing the driver on my old XPS 12 and found removing old drivers to be somewhat more challenging. I'll link a video that I made to help anyone who is stuck and can't get rid of the installed drivers on their computer. The driver itself doesn't take too long to install, and once it is installed, the tablet settings UI will be accessed from small shortcut icons on the taskbar. The settings for the M708 is far more comprehensive on Windows in comparison to Mac, which is a good thing as it allows space for more customization. It also meant I could set one of the express keys to rotate, which I couldn't on my MacBook Pro, but it is an essential shortcut that I use. I'll leave a link to the Windows setup video in the description box. The response I get when pressing an express key is immediate. For example, if I press undo or maybe zoom in shortcut button on the M708, it immediately translates on screen with no lag whatsoever. The strokes produced are beautiful, the flow of ink from the pen feels really nice, smooth and natural. I tried this pen tablet on two different Windows devices, the Chuwi Hi12, which is a tablet window, and the Dell XPS 12, which is running Windows 8.1 at the moment, I think. On the Chuwi Hi12, which is a Windows tablet, I found whenever I wanted to click on something in the taskbar, the cursor would have a spasm. In fact, I also noticed it would spasm when using the on-screen keyboard, but as long as the cursor was within the art program area, such as Clip Studio Paint, it behaved the way it should and didn't affect while drawing. But I was curious to find out whether this was a driver problem or something related to Chuwi being a tablet window. After all, Chuwi has its own pen, and it may be Chuwi's drivers conflicting with Ugee's drivers. And true enough, when I tested out on my half-broken Dell XPS 12, I had no issues with cursor spasm. The pen worked flawlessly on the XPS 12. I also found that I got no pressure levels in some programs like Medibang Pro on the Chuwi Hi12. However, on the Dell XPS 12, pressure levels worked fine on Medibang Pro. So even though both Chuwi Hi12 and Dell XPS 12 are both Windows devices, it seems to be clear that the tablet devices which come with their own pressure level pens, such as the Chuwi Hi12, have conflicting issues with Ugee's drivers. I've tested many different programs such as Adobe Suite, Clip Studio, Sai and Medibang on the Dell XPS 12, which worked great. On the Chuwi, I know Clip Studio and Photoshop definitely work. My drawing experience with Windows on both my Chuwi and Dell have been fun. Being able to set the express keys to any shortcut I wanted with no limitations meant I could fully personalize to my needs, which definitely assisted in improving workflow. Jitter test on Windows showed similar results to Mac, and as I mentioned before, all tablets including Wacom's have a degree of jitter, just some tablets have more than others. The M708 on Windows produced barely any jitter compared to what I experienced drawing on my Wacom Mobile Studio Pro. And of course, amount of jitter can vary across different programs, but I felt Windows programs seemed to perform better in terms of jitter compared to Mac. Also, take note that I have made sure to put pressure levels off and stabilization off for these tests. The M708 was happily able to cope with being left plugged in while Windows is put to sleep. I had no driver issues or driver crashes or any need to unplug and reconnect the M708 after waking up Windows. The tablet is instantly usable as soon as it's plugged in. Overall, I really enjoyed using Ugee's M708. It was nice to use a larger pen tablet. My previous pen tablet was a Wacom Bamboo, which was smaller and the active area was limited. Having a larger active area definitely made the drawing experience easier. Apart from the driver installation issues on Windows and maybe the cursor spasms some tablet Window users may possibly experience, it actually works really well. And for the price it is, I would definitely recommend this as a pen tablet for anyone looking to start off with a cheap yet highly functional tablet. The tablet also feels very robust and probably a good choice for students who plan on carrying it around from home and school or college. As a final note to beginners out there, don't ever feel like you have to spend lots of money to be able to create beautiful artwork. I started out with Trust Tablet, which was junk, but at the time it really helped me transition from mouse to pen. Honestly, art is about improving step at a time, so there's no reason not to upgrade your tools step at a time as well. That's it from me guys. This has been a complete review of Ugee's M708 pen tablet on both Windows and Mac, and I apologise for this video being so long, but I really wanted to fit everything I had experienced and learned about this tablet so that anyone who might be considering buying it can make a more informative choice. Links for where I got mine from are in the description box, and as always, likes and shares are always loved. If you're not already subscribed, consider doing so to watch more art related videos from myself. Until my next video, bye!